Welcome to another edition of the Cooker's Corner. We are here in beautiful Inglewood, Florida at the TWA Studios, and I got a special guest today, a former NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. You know how important that is? Think of the history. Hiro Matsuda.
Brian Blair.
Brian Blair was no Brian
Les,
Blair.
yeah, he told
Oh.
me he was. Les
Oh,
Thornton.
wait a minute. Wait, Les Thornton. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. I was trying to think of this all day yesterday. Who else was my NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion? I believe Mike Graham was.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, Nelson Royal.
Uh,
What? Oh, yeah, you don't like him?
I don't know.
No. Anyway, we
Yeah.
got Denny Brown, downtown Denny Brown. I've known Denny for a long time. We've never wrestled each other. I think we were in tag team matches before, like as
No, we've
partners.
never
Not
been
even
in the ring.
partners?
No, we haven't been in
Holy
anything, and
crap.
I'm always wanted to. It's been one of my
Uh,
biggest, fantasies in life.
Fantasies. Whoa.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Not that kind,
Oh,
but it was. Yeah, I've always wanted to work with Bob, and never had the opportunity, and never been in the same places where we could even had a chance to do that.
well, never say never, my friend.
Well,
You can say probably not, but just don't say never.
did I say never?
So,
I never say never
exactly.
because I don't even know what the word means.
You've been busting your ass in the gym. You're in the best shape you've been in a long time. You're
Hmm.
down to the goal weight you've been wanting to get to. So you just never say never.
Well, that's true. I'm just looking at doing one more thing, and if I can get that thing resolved, then we may end up having that dream match that I've always dreamed about, and hopefully that you have. And and I always had so many ideas in the back of my brain, in my head, and going, "This is going to be a great day to do this." Where's Bob?
Yeah.
And he's always somewhere else. And I think you gone, you left for a while. You
Well,
moved to
yes. I was with Fred Altman and his wife for a
up
while.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Escaping a few issues I had here in Florida. No, we won't get into that, but
Oh,
those issues have been worked out.
no wonder there's got all this stuff in here. Nobody can see you, so you don't
That's
have to
right.
worry about it.
Kayfabe is not dead.
Yeah, no, live and well, right here at the Twisted Wrestling Alliance
That's right.
in the ring.
Bingo.
Yeah, so it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me out. I enjoy, always your company, being around you. Learned a lot. Always watch, listen to some of your
Ramblings.
ramblings on wrestling, and always thought you had a great mind for the business. I
Oh,
always enjoyed listening and your take on wrestling as it is today.
I appreciate that. But let's talk about your time getting into business. We were talking about that earlier. How you got into business. It's a vast difference from how guys get in it today, how they're treated. You weren't even smartened up, right? For 2
No,
years, you never
no,
even got in a ring for 2 years.
no. We didn't. The guy did. I don't think he was broke anyway. He didn't work. He couldn't afford a ring, so we would wherever we could show up or meet is typically where we trained, and most of it wasn't really training. It was just kind of a roll and shoot.
Oh,
That's all it ever was, and that's how I got in shape. Doing that. Heck, we even got over to work out in the football fields. Geez, I remember the first time I ever got a hold of the guy. Rick Connors was his name. He just passed away about a year ago, and he was, and he's well known. Like as I said, a lot of different places, especially up there when Southeastern wrestling was
yeah,
going with those Fullers.
yeah.
And Rick would always tell me this story that he was working with Ron Fuller, and Ron pissed him off, and Rick took him down and wouldn't let him back up, and he was screaming on TV, "Let me
Oh,
out! Let me out!"
nice.
So that was the guy that trained me, and that's how he was. And the first time I ever talked to him, it's never in person. My uncle wanted me to go into wrestling, and he said, "I know a guy that knows a guy." I said, "Oh, one of those deals. That's great." So hey, I got the guy's number, and he says, "Well, I don't have his number. I don't know how to get a hold of him, but you can call down to the Shoney's Big Boy Restaurant and talk to the manager and leave your number with him." I said, "Wow,
Wow.
that's that's a deal."
It's an
Yeah,
interesting way to get into business.
yeah, but it's how it started.
Oh, yeah.
And then I called, and I did. I called, left a message, and true enough, the guy returned my call.
And now, because of that call, that ankle you were talking about earlier, that neck problem, that was a back problem. All because of that one call.
all because of that one
But do
call.
you regret any of it, really?
No, I was a very fortunate guy. I got with a lot of the best guys that helped me along the way. Like as I was saying, and I put on Facebook, with one of your things that you were talking to me, rambling with one of these guys about, and then they're talking about the rings and stuff like that when they're training, and I'm going, I never saw a ring.
Yeah.
I had to go. I worked out on the mat over at University of Tennessee in the bubble, and I had to work out with the wrestling team, and then that's where that's what we did every day. Then I hooked up with a guy there off of the was one of the assistant coaches of the wrestling team who was rated fourth in the nation. His name was Fred. And after we'd work out on the mats, we'd go to the track and we'd run for an hour or two.
Well, yeah.
We did sprints, and then Johnny Majors came in, ran us off, and went to Carson Newman College, another college, because Rick was always working out with the wrestling team because that's how he trained.
Yeah.
You couldn't find him in the gym, and he looked like Dracula with his jet black hair, and he didn't get up until midnight and wouldn't leave the house till it was midnight unless he had a wrestling show. And then he'd go to the bar and he'd sit there and shoot pool all night long and drink all night long. And then I don't even know, I couldn't even figure out how he even got up the next day, but he did. And when I was talking to him, he was sizing me up, trying to find out how big I was, and and I told him, I said, well, I said I'm. He goes, how tall are you? I said, oh, I'm five. I thought I was 5'8", but somebody else says I'm 5'6", but so I said 5'8", and he goes, "Oh, we usually like you to be 6 foot." And I said, "Well, that ain't happening."
Yeah.
And he goes, "How much you weigh?" I said, "Back in those days, I weighed 165, 170 pounds." He goes, "Well, we need you to be 200 pounds." I said, "Well, that's something you can work on."
Yeah.
Later on in life, that proved to be true, and got more than 200 pounds. But I did find a way to get rid of that. But we had a good time together, and I got in really good shape. And we did all the wrestling camps from all the high schools and everything. And so I spent 2 years just wrestling and on the mats and wrestling other different schools, and sometimes out in the middle of the football field where I'd get grass stains on my teeth where he'd rub my face
Oh,
into the
nice.
damn grass. So I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but he said I did everything in the world I could do to run you off, but he said you wouldn't leave.
Jeez.
And I said, well, because that's all you got. I got beat up by everybody in the neighborhood and plus my brothers all day long. So this is nothing.
Well, I'm so glad that this man, the great Malenko, didn't do that to me. Or we wouldn't be talking today.
Well,
Different times, different people.
yeah, I never got into psychology because we never did anything. We never took if we got when we got to the point where we started training in the wrestling and we still didn't have a ring. We were taking backdrops on the floor.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Harley Race would appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah. So for the people that say, well, they don't like this ring, that ring, or that ring's too hard or it's too loose or whatever, I say, just be glad you got one
Right.
because I
Be
never had
thankful,
one.
yeah.
But it just taught me how to wrestle. The fundamentals of wrestling in itself was what and everybody when they do their promos it's that's what's on the marquee is wrestling. Oh, that's what I learned, and plus I grew up watching Florida wrestling since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And from Eddie Graham and all those all the way up through my whole entire life as far as it is right now. And that's I really enjoyed the way they worked because most of it was wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, you know,
Believable.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Eddie Graham instilled that in everybody. The believability was the most
Oh,
important thing. And kayfabe was in
yeah,
full steam back then.
yeah,
You fire guys if you were caught riding together.
yeah.
I think it was a story where two of the guys that were babyface heel and they had barbecue once or something at their house, and he found out and fired them. I can't remember the names of the guys
Yeah.
involved in that.
It wasn't an easy go for me to try, getting into the business. It was hard. I mean, because of my size and all that. But I started gaining weight, and I had an opportunity to work at a couple different places, like I said, and I got lucky to do a show in Chattanooga for Nick Goulas, and did TV for him, and did TV in Atlanta.
Did you meet George Goulas? You always hear a lot of bad things about
I think he was there, but that's so long ago. I can't
George.
remember George.
What year did you break in?
I don't know, actually. I think it was around 1980,
Yeah,
79, 80, 81, something like that. I don't really don't remember the year
yeah,
because it just.
close enough.
Yeah, well, I was basically just getting out of the military, out of the Navy, and I was a welder, and went to 2 years of welding school, and was going to Knoxville to get with the union as a boilermaker,
Oh,
and they found out that I wasn't local, so they said, "Sorry, but we ain't gonna use you."
oh, great.
Yeah, they said I talked funny. So yeah, so that's how the thing came about. My uncle knew of somebody that, because he loved wrestling, that knew that phone number or the guy to give me the phone number. So that's how I got into that. And then, and everybody really appreciate the way that I was, even though I was just doing a couple of little spot shows here and there in TVs, because I would work with them. And then
Right,
back in those days, you didn't get a lot of guys that would be able to get out there and work. And not that I really knew what I was doing, but at least I was in enough shape where if they took me down or if I had to take a bump, that they didn't have to come over and pick me up off the
right.
mat.
Yeah, you can go back and watch some of them old TBS shows, and some of the guys, they use the term jobber, which I hate that term, but
I do too.
some of those guys earned the name jobber because they didn't know how to take bumps, they didn't know how to feed, some of them didn't even know how to hit the rope, and it made you wonder why did they get booked? I guess because they were willing to be there, and guys who knew how to work weren't in some cases.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. They're just trying to get your stars over all the
Oh
time
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, and then the thing, it was just they didn't really have any athletic background to most of them. And
Well,
Mike Jackson
I
is
had
the
that problem.
Mike Jackson had them all. He's the one that was training all of them out of over there in Alabama anyway,
Oh,
and he was charging them a booking fee.
right. Yeah, I know guys that used to do that.
And I'm going, geez, what a racket that is. And Mike would put on shows and stuff like that too. And he was a good kid to work with. I worked with him several times, and we had a match one time over there in Atlanta. And this was after I was already, had been in a while. And we worked on TV there, and then we talked and talked and talked about our match and everything. And everybody goes, "How are you going to remember all that stuff?" I go,
I got a brain.
"Yeah." And we went out there and we did everything, and it was such a great match, and I really appreciate that he put me over in that thing on national TV like that.
Mike still wrestles once in a while.
Oh,
He's like
jeez.
in his 70s.
Yeah, I got to hold him. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I saw him over there at the show in Charlotte when he makes you hold him by the hand and
Yeah,
walk him
yeah,
down the
yeah, yeah,
ropes. I'm going, I got about 2 seconds of patience of that, and I'm jerking you off the rope.
yeah.
But I couldn't do that. Yeah, it was just no, I can't
But
do
still,
that.
at 70 years old, or
Yeah,
70, more than 70. You know, Chick Donovan, right?
yeah.
Chick still wrestles once in a while, and he's almost 80.
Jeez.
He's still in great shape, though, for, anybody his age, or anybody really, but
Yeah, well, yeah, but
still got the
80.
blonde hair somehow, perfect, no balding. Great. Well, yeah, you still got your hair. It's not
Yeah,
fair.
and I'm not
Mine's getting,
balding,
every time I comb my hair,
and I don't have to color it.
I get, what's that mean?
I mean,
I get, I got nature's haircut. Every time I take a shower, some more falls out.
oh
It's
no,
not
it's
funny.
it's been this way my whole life. Same color, everything. It's not changed. So
That's a good story, at
yeah,
least.
yeah, yeah, and all my teeth
You know,
too.
wrestling fans are gullible. They'll buy
Yeah,
anything.
except for the ones that got knocked out with a
Oh,
baseball bat.
oh. By Wayne Ferris? No,
No, that was
you were
his
talking
stomp.
about him. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he stomped me in the back, and I asked Bobby about that one time. It was at a show, and I said, you remember I worked with you guys one time on TV over there? And he goes, yeah, I remember. And I go, damn, you guys beat the crap out of me. He goes, that wasn't me, it was Wayne.
Yeah.
And I had bruises on my back. I mean, big, huge bruises
Jeez.
where he stomped the crap out of me.
Didn't he get the memo that it's a work? I
Yeah,
mean,
evidently
geez,
not. I just heard he was that way with people. And
geez.
I never really knew him.
See, I got no
Later,
respect for guys like that, me personally, because that's not how I was taught. So,
yeah. Well, I had my first matches with going back was with the Mongolian Stomper out of Knoxville on doing TV. Kevin Sullivan when he was Mr. Tennessee, at 215
You look
pounds.
great too. Yeah, you're ripped.
Yeah, 425-pound
I remember
squat,
that. Yeah.
26 times. Um, John Stud. Nobody would work with him. I remember one time that Mulligan was setting up the matches for TV, and he was going over who was working with who, and then he gets to this one guy who thought he was Elvis Presley,
Ah,
and he said, "I can't." He said, "I can't. You'll tear up my image. I can't work with Stud. I can't do the job on the TV." And then he looks over, and we're sitting over there, and then he goes, let Denny do it." And Mulligan, you can see that, you know how that look in his eyes, and he looks up over at me because he's fuming inside. I can see it in his eyes. I said, "Yeah, I'm going. That's why I'm here. I'm work. Just whatever." So I said,
I'm here for the big bucks.
yeah, yeah. Maybe it was back then. I don't know, but
Yeah, right.
certainly these days it's a whole different story. But I never really got on those big deals like that.
Yeah, me neither.
I worked my butt off, my tail off to try to get there, but never really truly did.
But that showed you the love for the business when you would work for the money we made and do it happily and not wait to be able to get down the road and do it again.
Yeah.
You know, you make whatever you made, and I couldn't wait to get to the next show.
Yeah, absolutely. I went from when Brian Blair when I finally got in here in Florida wrestling, because they shut down up in Knoxville. I guess they was having problems between Flair and Mulligan was actually the business, the territory that he took over Southeastern was doing really well, and they was Flair and Mulligan had 25%, and Crockett had 50%, and Crockett didn't like that. He
Yeah,
couldn't, you can't outshine him in his territory, and then
right.
and they were doing that, so he ended up pulling out, and they shut him down, and I came back home. And then I went down over to Tampa, the Sportatorium, and J.J. Dillon was a booker at the time, and I knocked on the door, and they said, "Oh, just talk to Aston." So they wouldn't let me inside,
Oh, jeez.
kayfabing me. So,
Huh.
and J.J. finally comes to the door, and he goes, "What do you want?" He goes, he said, I just asked him. I said, would you mind using me to do TV? No, we got everybody.
Jeez.
I went, "Oh, great." So,
Thanks.
at least I had a trade. And I went back into, welding and hanging steel. I was walking steel down here.
Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Florida sun and all that stuff. It would get hot up there on those buildings, carrying those big beams on across the little 2-inch wide truss. You got to walk across. It's walking,
Oh
wobbling like
yeah, I'm
that.
not doing
Well, I did it,
that.
and then
That takes a real man, and I'm not even half that.
well, then JJ, and then Dory Funk came in and took over the book, and he let me do TV, and and so he was doing TV. He let me do TV, and after the first match I worked with on TV was Jimmy Garvin. I worked with him,
Yeah,
and everybody went freaking.
Jimmy was easy.
Everybody went nuts. So I mean, I just was doing what I normally do. I wasn't trying to be anything
Yeah,
any better. I was just this is what I was taught,
right.
and I'm taking backdrops. I'm almost hitting the lights, and then everybody went crazy. And then the next thing you know, I started doing TV, and everybody's looking on the chart. Who's got the kid? Who's got the kid? Who's got the kid? So I started working with a lot of people, and I was still welding at a different job, and the guy told me if I took off one more Wednesday, he was going to fire me.
No, jeez.
And Dory calls me, because I wasn't on the sheet to do TV that week. And I told him, I said, he calls me up at home, and he goes, "I need for you to come down and do TV this week, this Wednesday." I go, "I can't come down." I said, I got to work, because if I don't work, the guy's going to fire me." And he he goes, "Oh, okay." He hangs up. Phone rings again. It's Eddie Graham.
Right.
He goes, "Kid, I need you to come over and do TV." And I'm going, "I just talked to Dory 5 minutes ago. I told him I can't do TV." And I said, "If I do, I'll lose my job." And he goes, "Oh, okay. All right." 5 minutes later, Eddie calls me back again. He goes, "I'll pay you double what I pay everybody else." I said, "Oh, what are you going to do? How are you going to say no to Eddie Graham?"
Right.
So I go down and and I do TV and I'm working with Dory that week, and it was just he just tore me up anyway. And then I'm going, okay, that was nice. Glad I was able to do that. And then Brian Blair was tagging with then Terry Allen before he
Oh,
was
yeah.
Magnum, and Terry blew out his knee or his ankle or something, and I just come in to get to get to do TV one day, and you remember Charlie Lay?
Yeah.
Charlie was, you go in the office and he'd sit back and he would never say a word. He'd just kind of groan at you.
Yeah.
Never get up out of his chair. So I come in the office because I was supposed to get paid that day, and all of a sudden he popped up out of his chair, and I went, "What is wrong with this guy? You okay? You having a heart attack or what?"
Right.
He goes, "Wait," and he's flicking around on the phone, and he goes, he goes, "He's here." I go, "Who are you talking to?"
Well, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I said, "What the heck?" So Eddie comes down, and he gets right there at I'm still at Charlie's office, and he goes and he says, he goes, oh, he starts talking to me and all that, and he goes, "How about your job? How's your job?" And I go, I said, "I got fired." And Eddie, his two famous words was, "Oh shit." It was either good or it was bad. It didn't matter. If it was "oh shit," you better pay attention, because if he said it about you, you were either gone or you got something else that he was going to give you.
Right.
And I'll be damned, he gave me Terry Allen's spot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so here I am, just coming out of there working with Brian Blair, semi-main event tag team matches. Oh crap! And then,
Ultimately, it all led from that accepting that phone call and the double pay that one day.
oh,
Because you never know where it would have went if you wouldn't have went.
yeah, and then Dusty comes in and fires me.
Oh, jeez. I was just going to ask you how you became NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion, and Dusty fired you.
Yeah, Dusty fires me, and I go, and I'm going, and that broke my heart because I'm working every single night. Semi-main events, tag team with me, Brian Blair, tag team partners. And Dusty comes in and he, makes us come in and sit in the sportatorium, and he interviews everybody, tells them where their position is and everything. And he gets down to the last three guys, me and two others. And we walk into his office all at the same time. He goes, "I can't use you guys anymore." And I just
Yeah, that's a
sunk.
horrible
My
feeling.
whole body, yeah, I just sunk. And I go, but I work hard. "I know you do, kid. I know you do, kid." I said, "I'll do it. I know you will, kid." He said, "But you can come back and do TV if you want."
For that big 25-hour payoff?
Oh no, it was double.
Oh, every time?
Every
Oh,
time,
that's good.
every time. They always paid me double to do TV because they always took care of me after that. He would actually come down. Eddie Graham would actually come down in most of my matches, even though I wasn't anybody at doing anything at that time. He'd come down into the dressing room and come and pull me over to the side and tell me how he wanted me wanted me to work in the ring.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, this is my hero
A lot
as a
of guys
kid growing up.
didn't get that benefit, I'm sure.
Yeah, and he always called me over. And then Dusty finally walked. We're in the where the TV is watching everything on the monitor. He goes, "Denny," he goes, "What do you want to do?" Well, what you mean? What do you want to do? He goes, "What do you want to do about wrestling?" And I go, "I want to be in the business. That's why I'm here." He goes, "All right, kid, I got something for you." So that's where it started, and then that's when I hooked up with Mike Rotundo and Mike Davis, and that's where the psychology came in.
Yeah.
Because I had to sit in the back seat of the car, and we went to town to town to town to town, and I learned the psychology from those guys. And Mike was the best. He goes, when every night he says after you, because I was always first anyway, and that was Dusty's
Hey,
thing.
wait, I was always first. What are you talking about?
No, I was always first. And so, and Mike would say, he would tell me after your match, he says, "I want to see you sitting out here watching all the shows, all the other matches every night." He says, "The first time I don't see you out there, you're done. You
Wow.
won't be riding with me anymore." So I did, and I did that. And of course, Mike and I have been friends ever since. And Mike Rotunda, that is. And we still hang out, still go fishing together. And then one day we were down in the Bahamas, and we came back. And we went over to Orlando. We was doing the Orlando, the Eddie Graham Sports Arena, And then that big old belly comes up behind me and pushes me in the back. And he goes, "You just became world junior heavyweight champion. You won the tournament." I look
What?
up at him and go,
I was just going to ask you who you beat for the title. So it was a phantom tournament?
"Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah." Well, that was here in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So I
Yeah.
didn't win the title until a year or so two later, up in Greensboro at the '84
Starcade?
Starcade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even get it until then.
Wow.
And Mike Davis was, I worked with him that night, and he was so happy, so excited because he helped bring me along and help, give me. I worked with him many times and all that. I had respect of everybody in the dressing room because of the way I worked, except for Angelo Mosco when he shattered my eardrum.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Nice guy.
yeah, I bled. I mean, I bled out of my ear. Green goo. I
Jeez.
poured out of my for 2 weeks. It got infected. Mike and I went down to my brother's house in Fort Lauderdale after we wrestled in Miami, and we at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got green stuff all the way down over to here. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're knocking on my brother's door, wanting to go fishing, and I'm out there laid out in the boat with the green stuff oozing out of my ear while my brother and Mike Rotundo are fishing.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and Angela goes, "I whacked that kid really hard." I go, "Yeah, I
Well, he
know."
did. He said that proudly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Glad I never had to wrestle him.
Oh, he knocked me out after that twice
Jeez.
in the same match.
Wow.
Yeah, because Dusty told me to make sure you slap him back. And so I was, he slapped me because that's what he was doing. He was doing this Italian thing, with the rolling the fish in the newspaper, giving it to you. That was the sign where you're dead. And he was doing
Yeah.
an angle with Mike Rotunda, and he said, and he was slapping everybody. And Dusty says, make sure you open up so he can slap you. So I go, he pushes me back into the turnbuckle. I throw my arms over the turnbuckle. I turn my head. Wham! Hit me so dang hard, I saw nothing but white light.
You don't think you did it on purpose, do you?
Oh,
Just
hell
did
yeah,
it?
he
Oh,
did it on
oh, wow,
purpose.
great.
Yeah, and
Well, we need more guys like that in the business.
yeah, and I started going down, and I go, that's not the finish. Dusty told me to make sure I slap him back, and I hit on one hand, and I push myself back up, and I come up, pow, and I slap him across the face, and he hits me right in the chin with an elbow. Oh, boom, geez. And I go down again. And he picks me up, shoots me in, and catches me with a third. And I mean, I said,
remember those elbows he used to throw.
Oh man, I said, I'm done. Cover me, do something, whatever, please.
Must be like Wayne Ferris didn't get the memo.
Well, some of them didn't,
yeah,
So
yeah.
there was a few out there once in a while that would really, and Tyree Pride, I was on my knees selling for him down in the Bahamas, and I'm on my knees, and he walks right up to me and kicks me right dead in the face.
Jeez.
Bam! And I look up at my eyes lit up, and I look at him, and he goes, "Oh, that was a mistake. That was a mistake." And I bounced right up, and he started backpedaling. I drove him into the turnbuckle, and I said, "So is this." Bam!
He was a Malenko guy. What's up with that?
I don't know.
Well, I'm glad that never happened to me when I wrestled Tyree.
Oh, got on my teeth. Yeah, but that ring down there was rough anyway.
We were on a show somewhere. Well, I don't know if it was the Bahamas, but it was a boxing ring.
Yeah,
and Malenko told everybody, he said, "Don't slam anybody." And Tyree slammed me in the ring, and Malenko chewed him out right in front of everybody in the crowd because he was the referee. God damn it! I told you not to stop.
That was it.
Yeah,
those the Bahamas. Yeah, they had a post, and every couple of feet they had a post up because a boxing ring, that's how
you don't want the bouncing.
Well, they control their matches. They want to make it soft, and so that way, if a guy was really in shape and they wanted to beat him, they make it softer.
Huh.
If they wanted it fast, they just stiffen it up more. And that's how boxing was. But us, I was under the tutelage of keep it in the middle of the ring and on the ground or on the mat.
Yep.
Don't get up, don't come off of those top ropes. And I never did, never had to.
Probably had 4 ropes too.
No, we only had 3.
In the boxing ring?
Oh, the 4, yeah, down there, yeah.
Yeah, it's the only time I was ever in a boxing ring was there.
Yeah, well, I was had to go to work with the Iceman King Parsons, St. Louis, and they had a ring there, and these were 16 foot.
Yeah.
They had a 20-foot ring.
Oh, geez.
That felt like I was running forever.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Oh man, I tell you, after the first high spot, I said, "Grab a hold, buddy." That thing, I just ran to China and back. That thing was a long
It's
ways
amazing
off.
how the little bit like in WCW, I think their rings were 18 foot,
Mm.
and then when I wrestled for WWF in '95, they were either 20 or 22 feet, and that extra step makes a huge difference. Plus, they use real ropes in the
Yeah,
WWE now, and they were no weren't as they weren't as bouncy than
yeah,
as the cable, and the rings were stiff as hell. Back then, they're a lot better now than they were in
yeah.
95. But
Well, Florida's always had the best rings. And Nelson Royal always, he was the one that,
I mean, Gordon Nelson?
yeah, Gordon Nelson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was always drugging around, putting it up and all that stuff.
Yep.
He brought his kid down to Sebring one time, and this guy, one of the cops down there, wanted to get into wrestling, and he went. The chief went to Gordon Nelson and told him, and his kid, he, he said, he didn't want, he wanted to teach him a lesson and not, he said he wanted to get this wrestling business out of his brain really quick. So
Discourage him.
yeah, so Gordon Nelson's son came in and he was there and it was a shoot match and
Oh,
he just beat the tar out of him. He wanted to discourage him from ever getting
yeah.
into wrestling and I think his son was still in high school or getting ready to start college. This was a big old cop on the police force wanting to get into wrestling. It's Gordon's son just tore him up.
Again, I'm so glad that never happened to me. The first time I met Gordon was at the Sportatorium in 1981. When I was trying to get into wrestling, I had no idea how to do it. And I met him after the show, and I was like, "How do you get in wrestling?" I was only 18 years old. And he said, "Well, you got to be in really good shape, and you come in for a tryout," which basically meant they're going to stretch you and beat you into the ground. But I didn't know that because I never went back. I just
Yeah,
happened to be coming out of the army in Tampa like the next week, and there was a flyer for the Malenko School. But that's not. That's just a short story about that. Gordon Nelson, probably would have stressed me, or whoever they would have put me in the ring with.
oh,
But I'm glad that didn't happen. I like Gordon. I got to know him later because he was the ring guy in
yeah,
WCW. Him and Klondike Bill, remember him?
yeah.
And now they're both gone.
Good people.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
yeah, it's just it was a great experience for me over all these years, and and I was very fortunate the way that I got to break into the business. I was very fortunate to have the people that saw something in me that brought me along. I mean, including Eddie Graham and Dusty Rhodes and Dusty. He I remember him when we were in South Carolina, and they were looking at training some guys or whatever, to see about breaking into the business. And Dusty was talking and telling them about all, the guys, what they did for him and all that. And he goes, and that guy pointed to me, and he goes, "That's my guy that gets all my time in. He gets in my time, and he starts my show every single night, and he puts in the time, so that way we don't have to work as long." And I looked up at him and I go, and I did. I did 30 minutes almost every single night.
Nice.
And most of them were Broadway. So, you didn't go, with a finish on where you got to beat somebody in 10, 15 minutes. It was 30 minutes Broadway.
But that's how you learn too. I
Yeah.
mean, other guys go in there 5 minutes. You're not gonna learn in 5 minutes.
Except for Bob Roop come in when I was working with Pat Tanaka in Georgia. And he was standing back there with the ring announcer, and I was listening and following the time. And the next thing I know, we're supposed to do 30-minute Broadway. And then the next thing I know, I hear 35 minutes. Wait a minute. What? That's more than 30. 40 minutes.
You're working Bob Roop?
No,
Oh.
Bob was
Oh,
back
he was
there
the
with
booker?
no, he was back there with the timekeeper.
Oh, messing with him? Oh.
Telling him to go 5 more minutes.
Okay, okay.
5 more minutes. And I
Yeah.
get 45 minutes. I go, 45 minutes gone. I go, we're going home.
Who are you working with?
Pat Tanaka.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat was a good guy, or is a good guy.
Yeah, he is. I talked to him the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, just Facebooked
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
minute or two, and he disappeared again. So
Yeah, he does that once in a while.
he does it all the time. He's probably running from somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat. If he sees this, hey, Pat.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. They think he lives in some other state, don't he?
I don't know where he's somewhere in the mountains and where it's cold. I'm sure.
Huh.
It was in Pittsburgh, and it was freezing, freezing, snowing out, and we're outside, just coming outside of the airport, and he's just got a T-shirt on. shivering as a
Oh yeah,
mountain
he's
dog.
cold. That's crazy. Put a jacket on for God's sake.
Oh, I watched Hiro Matsuda beat the crap out of him one day at the Billy Jack was in the territory at the time, and they were, Mike was there, Rotunda, and this guy was trying to break in. Carl Gotch was there.
Yikes.
Yeah, I got
We got a picture of Carl on the wall right over
yeah, I
there.
saw that. I got the crooked head scissor twice that day, and he got mad at me because I was working with Anthony Charles or Tony Anthony or whatever
Tony Anthony,
the
the dirty
kid.
white boy.
No, 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 no. Anthony Charles, I think it was.
I don't know.
His dad was Anthony Charles, and he was going by Tony Charles or something like
I
Tony.
kind of remember Tony
And I
Charles.
was wrestling. I was working around playing with him on the mat, and I was laughing because I shouldn't have been, but I did. And Carl got mad, and he used me to show the crooked head
Oh
scissor.
geez.
Yeah, and he and it's just like going to a chiropractor. And I'm laying on the mat, and he walks over and he goes, "You don't look so good." I said, "Right now I don't feel so good. Can you do this the other way?" Get it? And there he did the crooked head scissor once again. And it was the greatest chiropractic job I ever had. But Billy Jack beat the tar out of this other guy. He was just being a jackass.
Billy was the other guy.
Billy,
Oh,
Billy, he was.
that's not shocking.
No,
I mean, he killed his wife for God's sakes.
jeez, he was
Well,
a
just
nut.
brought that up, eh?
He was a nut.
Yeah, I'm not the one.
But he beat the crap out of the guy. But Mike was training with the guy first, trying because the guy wanted to break into wrestling. But over off to the side, Hiro Matsuda, because the Duke told him, he said, "I don't want Pat in wrestling." Duke's got him, or Hero's got him over there in a wheelbarrow stance, making him do push-ups. And every time he'd come up, he'd kick him in the stomach.
Jeez.
And I mean, he had him in tears. He beat the tar out of him. I'm going, I felt so bad for Pat that I said I wouldn't want to be in the business anymore either. But he did. He went off to Japan, and he got in there, and they told him, you don't mess around, you don't drink, you don't get in with the young boys, and and corrupt them. Pat's drunk every night, gambling every night, and all that crap and everything, and they were really really hard on him. So he takes a razor blade and he cuts it across his knee like he's had knee surgery so he could get out of there.
Jeez.
But they were they were going to cripple him.
But then he went on to be the AWA Tag Team Champion with another Malenko guy,
Yeah,
Paul Diamond.
yeah, yeah. I traveled with him quite a bit. He was hilarious
Yeah.
to be around because he always wanted to do stuff that nobody else did. We was in a bar one night, and we always we did this thing where he'd punch him in the ear and cauliflower ear, boom. And he walks up to me and he comes up behind me in the bar and he hits me in the ear. He goes, cauliflower ear, bam! I went, oh shit! And I turn around, and look at him, pow! I punched him in the nose. He started bleeding everywhere in the middle of the bar. And I was, oh crap! I didn't mean to hit you that hard.
The good old days.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't even know. Do guys even go to the bars anymore? They go back to the hotel and play video games.
I don't
Probably
know.
better that way.
Shoot, no, I hung out with Manny Fernandez quite a bit. We always went to the bar. We got kicked out of every bar in Durham, Raleigh, Durham, on campus over there on the college town. We went out that night and we got kicked out of every freaking bar. And this one guy said something to us, and I started going after him. And man, he grabs me by the back of the belt, and I'm just standing there treading. I'm not moving, but I'm trying to go after him. Man, he's got me, and he won't let me go. And then I'm still trying to get away, and I'm going after him. And all of a sudden, he goes, psst, and I went head first into their table, wiped the table out like a big old bowling ball, like bowling pins. And it was so comical. There wasn't nothing, nobody got hurt or anything like that. It wasn't a real fight. It was just a comical thing at the time.
Well, that's when you wish you had cell phones, so you have those.
Oh
you
God!
Get a million hits on YouTube.
Lord be, if we'd had cell phones back in
we'd
those
all
days,
be in jail.
oh jeez, I'm telling you, the things that we did back in the day, because the business was different then.
It's almost like an outlaw lifestyle to a degree.
Yeah, it was, and and we just had a lot more fun, and we knew that we had to be on the road every night, and in Charlotte, being out of the Middle Atlantic Territory, you'd go on some excursions,
Yeah.
3 days, and we had to drive everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
which I preferred though. I always hated to fly.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it, but I didn't like it.
Well, I got kicked off of Crockett's. I got fortunate, I guess, because I was a world junior heavyweight champion, and I got to be on his private plane, where like 20 of us or so, or 15 of us, or whatever, would be on the plane.
The big stars.
Yeah, and and I was surprised that I was on there, but I stayed, trying to get back. I stayed with Ronnie Garvin, who was on the main event. Crockett got mad and said, "Why you should have been here a long time ago. You should." I said, "Well, I had a ride and I was just waiting and I was coming back with him." No, and he said he got mad at me, chewed me out, and I never got on the plane again.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I
So
never cared for Jim Crockett personally, or David Crockett.
David,
I
yeah,
liked Jackie Crockett. He was cool.
I
Jackie
got
was the
into it.
best one.
He fired me one night.
Jackie Crockett or
He
Jim?
he fired me. No, uh,
David?
Jackie. Jackie,
Jackie?
yeah, we was.
Well, he was just a cameraman. When he
I
had more
know
power
that.
than.
That's what I told him. He fired me because he was cussing me out for something he didn't like, and I told him to shut up. And he didn't like it. And he goes, "You're fired." And I said, "Yeah, okay."
Oh, so he didn't really fire you?
He tried,
Oh,
but he thought he had the power, but he
yeah.
didn't. Jim Crockett fired me one night after I stole his truck right in front of him. We were in Myrtle Beach, and Dusty said we were all sitting out there, me, Manny, Dusty, and I forget who else. And Crockett pulls up in the truck that hauls the ring, and he's across the corner over there on a payphone because still didn't have cell phones. And he's talking
Yeah.
to somebody. Dusty said, "Go get his truck." So I walk across the street and Jimmy's looking and he's watching me. I get up, I open the door and he's watching at me. I close the damn door of the truck and he's just I go around the other corner and there's Dusty and all them waving, and Dusty goes, "If he fires you, tell him he can't fire you because I hired you." It was, yeah, comical times.
And now he's dead.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jackie died, what, maybe a couple years ago?
Did he?
Or a year ago? A couple years ago. Something. Yeah.
Uh,
I always liked Jackie because he was more one of the boys. Was the Jim Crockett treated you like trash unless you were the big stars, talked down to you and everything.
Yeah, we got along except for that one time at that one show, and he said you're fired, and I just
His
laughed.
checks never bounced. That was the main thing.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
They were never that big, but they never bounced either.
Well, they weren't bad when you were working regular like that, but
Yeah.
they never, when they finally came out, they were the first ones that came out with a deal where they started contracts and were paying you a flat rate,
Yeah.
just to start. And I never got offered one. I said,
Yeah, I never
"Where's
got that
mine?
deal.
Where's mine?"
I mainly worked for Crockett when he bought Florida out in '87 from Mike and them. And remember, and then he shut it down because he mainly only bought it to get the TV network or
Yeah,
the syndicated TV channels.
yeah,
And then Mike and Steve restarted Florida Wrestling in '88 with Gordon, and you were there with Jimmy
yeah,
Backlund and then
yeah.
Frankie Lancaster.
That was a bad time in my life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not that not working because I like Steve and Mike, I really did. But what I did, and I did it to myself, was just a bad time for me. I was going through a lot of different things, and I had to go back into rest. I had to go back into welding,
Oh,
and so I was working a job all day and construction all day, and I was a construction worker off of work at night. You know how construction workers are, and especially welders. When you get off work, and then I
party.
was still going to shows, and
Yeah, I remember you being at all the shows. I mean,
yeah,
you were prominently displayed in those shows.
yeah, but
Feuding with Jimmy Backlund, and I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
and Rex King was there.
yeah,
Scotty the Body, remember that? Scotty came in
yeah.
when
We
he
shared a house
started.
together. He was a nut.
Yeah, I liked Scotty, but he was a little bit neurotic.
Yeah, it was fun times though. That's but that's not probably what you wanted to hear about me getting into the wrestling business. As far as that went, it took me a lot, but I got there, and those are the experiences that I went through in my 15 years or so or better. I mean, I didn't start getting hurt until I started doing the independent shows.
Huh.
I never got hurt at all during when I worked with with Crockett and Florida here and everything, and then started doing some of the everybody kind of just dropped off and there wasn't any place to go anymore, and I started doing the independent shows, and that's when I started getting hurt.
A lot of rickety old rings on the independent circuit in those days.
Well, a lot of the guys didn't know what the
Well,
heck they
that
were
too.
doing.
Yeah,
Mostly it was that. The ratings
yeah.
wasn't so bad as the fact is a lot of those people didn't know what they were doing. Hell, I had a Texas bull rope match. I was like, what the hell am I doing in the Texas bull rope match? And the guy has the cowbell, and the open end of the cowbell, he bam right in my head, and
Shoot.
oh god, yeah, tears half of my head off.
All for $50 maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Not even
right.
50 bucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. It's a bad time.
That
Yeah.
plagues the indie business today as well. I mean, there's a lot of guys that,
Oh, yeah, they're just weekend warriors.
yeah.
We used to call them mud shows because they weren't any better than
Well, they
watching
were
a
the
mud
outlaw
wrestling.
shows back
Yeah,
in those days too,
yeah, but
running
because
opposition.
nobody was ever really trained, and not if anybody that trained them didn't know what the heck they were doing to train them to begin with, and and then
Now you
it's
can
just
learn wrestling on YouTube.
yeah. I don't know how that would go.
I don't know.
You got to
Well,
get in shape somehow, and you can't just do that watching YouTube.
I remember there was an advertisement in the old wrestling magazine. Become a pro wrestler. It was like a
Oh,
correspondence course. I don't remember who did it, but
that was in all the wrestling
right,
magazines.
right.
Yeah, Bill Apter had all that in all those wrestling
Yeah, I can't remember
magazines.
who the person was that was
Yeah.
claiming to be training the but it was
Well,
somebody
mostly it was
fairly
girls.
famous.
Huh?
It was somebody fairly famous who had
Yeah.
the ad. I just don't remember who it was.
He was always displaying two women wrestling, and they were
Probably.
half naked all the time. And I go,
Hey, I want to get in that
yeah, I want to
business.
get. That's where I want to go.
Right.
Right there in the middle of those two.
I'll practice all day long.
Yeah, shoot, yeah. Let's get a little cardio going on, baby. Yeah, I remember those. I got a ton of magazines at home still with, a lot of articles that were on me. I saw, evidently I did okay for a while.
Yeah, I used to have like over 2,000 old magazines, but I sold them to a friend a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just clutter. It gets to a point where the older you get, the more stuff you have is just clutter.
Oh, I know. I can't stand clutter anymore. I'm throwing away so many different things, cleaning out the shed that I got in the backyard.
Some of those old magazines can get a nice penny on eBay if you get the right ones.
Yeah, I sold them in that one show that I went to New York I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
And I got rid of a lot of those magazines with a lot of the articles, depending on who else was in them. That was a pretty good. That was the last one that I've done. I've done a lot of different podcasts, but it's just uh, not a lot. These days are different,
Yeah.
but I'm still waiting for that match with you and I.
I like doing podcasts because it gives you a chance to reminisce a little bit. And although I always tell the same stories when I do the podcast, I still like doing them.
Yeah.
Put over the Great Malenko. That's always my gimmick. Not a gimmick,
Oh,
but it's always my thing.
I always love to
And I
watch
always
it.
tell the stories about how much I hated Vader and how big of a jerk he was, and different people you meet.
Yeah. I never met him. I never met him.
Consider yourself lucky.
But I grew up watching
Oh, you
Malenko
never
too.
met Malenko or
No, I
Vader?
met him once or twice.
Oh, okay.
He said I could come and work out down in the ring with him.
He was awesome.
But I never got the chance. And then another guy that I was scared to death when I kind of went back and started doing TV again with WCW when they did it over in Disney. And it was let's see, with that big Sid Vicious.
Oh yeah.
And I always heard so many bad things about him. I was always so terrified. He's going to hurt me. He's going to hurt me. So I had to work with him one day on TV over there, and he was a dream. He did the power slam.
Yeah, he's a nice guy too. I
Yeah.
thought he was always cool to me. I don't know.
That's the first and only time I
Although
ever
he
met him.
did break Rick Ryder's neck. He used to do that finish where he do that whirly bird thing.
Uh,
Although Rick had neck issues before he got into business, so
uh,
it just happened to break when Sid did that move. I think it was more.
yeah.
When Rick was in the hospital after that, I went to visit him, and I brought him a Sid Vicious action figure, and I was like, "Hey, here's a present." He opens up, "You son of a bitch," because he's there with a neck brace, And
Yeah, that's wild.
what is it? People here? We don't need no people here.
They're gonna come in and train. It sounds like a woman. It might be your wife.
No, I know it. Well, we have a guy that's training to be a referee, and he usually comes every week.
Oh, maybe he's coming today.
He's supposed to, because he's refereeing our match next week, or not our match, but my match.
Oh, okay.
Wait, was I supposed to say that? No, I don't know.
Hey,
Hey, yeah.
delay the last.
Anyways, I appreciate you coming here. It's a long drive, not that long.
Yeah.
It's old wrestlers. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Hour and a half.
I don't. Yeah, maybe an hour and a half. But the only reason it was a little bit longer is because church was getting out everywhere, and I caught some of the
Yeah.
church traffic and stuff.
Oh, look at this. We got people interrupting us. You believe this crap?
Uh oh.
Unbelievable.
Go ahead and chop him.
Damn it. Oh, guess he's not here.
Yeah, I told you I heard a female voice.
Yeah, well, that happened.
Yeah,
Every once you know how to get lucky.
yeah, well,
But
see,
how long were you the NWA junior heavyweight champion?
4 times on four
You were
different
four
occasions.
times? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, because I went and dropped it to Gary Royal, Kansas City, Lasertron, Nelson Royal, and then Steve Regal.
Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity, not the
Yes,
other Steve Regal.
no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and it's probably the whole most of the time that I was in Charlotte. It was a good 6 8 years that I was in Charlotte. So at least a good 6 years of
Wow.
being junior heavyweight champion. Well, they had to give somebody, they I believe, and this is what I always said, they gave me the World Junior Heavyweight Championship because of always being first and doing TVs and everything. Because always having to put people over on TV. It gave them more credibility to be the world champion.
Yeah.
And then that's what one of the things and the purposes of Dusty doing that for me. But I got to travel quite a bit, Australia, Japan, and all those places like that. Puerto Rico, I went down and with the smaller. There's 3 invaders down there, and
The one that killed Bruiser?
no, that's the big invader. I was in Japan
Oh,
with him.
oh.
I was in Japan with him before that happened, and yeah, he was kind of a different type of person, but he
Hmm.
seemed like a nice enough guy. But when we got back,
Oh, you said knife enough.
yeah, he
Get it?
did. Maybe I
Knife enough.
slipped. But yeah, when that came out, I mean, that was like, wow, really? I was just with this guy, and good thing I didn't get in an argument with him in Japan.
Yeah.
I may not be
We
here
might be
today.
interviewing Python Pete instead of you.
Mm, yeah, yeah. But it was, yeah, I got to go quite a different, places and work and different territories, and been down to the Florida, Pensacola territory. I did a lot down in there and everything, and it was because they had small guys too, and so I got to do a lot down there. And Bob Armstrong was one of the greatest guys. I mean, he was just so good to me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I go down there, sometimes he'd put me up at his home and all that stuff. And
I
he,
love the
he
Armstrongs. They were awesome.
yeah, Bob, I never had a bad thing to say to anybody or about anybody. He was just so good, so peaceful, and so quiet, and
Wait a
yeah,
minute. An actual good human being in the wrestling business?
he was
Let me
truly
write that down. Give me a
yeah,
pen, Joe.
he truly was. I thought he was.
No, he was always cool to me. Well, I was kind of kidding, but okay. Bob Armstrong was an.
So was Brad. He's
Oh,
big
Brad
on
was
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
One of the best to ever step in the ring. And I always say Brad was one of those guys. Anytime he'd walk in the dressing room, he'd make me laugh. He didn't have to hardly do anything,
Yeah,
but he'd just make you laugh.
had that old country boy, you know.
The kind of guy you want in a dressing room.
Yeah. And then Scott McGee put 12 stitches on me, headbutted me and down in Fort
Oh,
Lauderdale.
nice.
He,
Here,
he
geez,
cut,
yeah, we were talking to Jay Goodley on the last podcast, and he broke Jay's ankle. He gave you stitches.
headbutted
But I
me.
like Scott. What's up with that?
He headbutted me in the middle of a match. Just he said, I meant to hit my thumb. I go,
Oh.
well, you missed. But he did take me to the hospital and get me
Oh,
stitched up,
that's
12
nice.
stitches.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's not kayfabe.
No. Yeah, but he was good enough to take me over to the emergency room, and
But he wasn't good enough to pay for it.
well, I didn't pay for it.
Oh, okay. In that case,
I
never
don't know
mind.
who paid for it. They just stitched me up and we left.
Nice.
That's all I remember. I don't remember anything else.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Do you consider the time in the business the best time of your life?
Oh, absolutely. But I it was in the event that I was on national TV. I was in the spotlight. But I don't complain. I don't have anything bad to say any part of my life. All the way up, except for when I was younger, when everybody beat me up all the time.
Oh,
And because when I joined the Navy, I went straight to Japan, and I lived there for 2 years, and I went all
nice.
over the
Did you
South.
learn the language?
No,
Oh, well.
if I did, I forgot it. But
That's an experience in itself, though, living in a foreign country.
yeah. Well, we've traveled to on a big aircraft carrier over to went to Singapore once, Korea, Philippines, which I love. I was in Manila when Ali fought Frazier.
Oh wow!
I was a mile from the stadium, watched it live.
Oh, that's
They weren't
awesome.
going to show it live, and Ali was messing around with the president.
Joe Frazier.
No, yeah, Joe Frazier, but he was messing around with. I was Starcade with Joe sitting next to Joe Frazier all night in Starcade when he was there.
Oh, that's right. He was a referee in Dusty's match with
Yeah,
Flair, right?
and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
tried to convince me he could sing, but he never shut up. He's worse than me. He never shut up.
That's awesome though. They even get to meet a legend like that.
I can't do a promo for nothing, but I can talk all day long when I don't have a red light in front of me. But that's the way it is in itself.
But did you ever get pictures with guys? A lot of guys didn't do that. I wish I got more pictures. I met Andre and Bruno and different guys. I don't even have a picture with the Great Malenko. And I
Uh,
wish I would have taken more pictures
uh,
now as an old man.
yeah, me too. Me too. I did, and then a funny story with Andre almost killed me once, and then crushed my chest.
Oh, geez.
In the same, we were in Miami, and then we went to Hollywood. And had what do you call a battle royal in Hollywood, and but it was in Miami at the convention center. And you know how it is, when you're and Barry he gives me the keys to his truck, and he says, "Make sure you get Andre back to the hotel." I said, "Okay." So Barry took off because somebody always came to the place, to the towns, and some
Right.
girl picked him up.
Oh yeah.
Not every time he was all the same. So he
Son
says,
of
"Yeah, right, yeah." Most of us had to pay for it, right?
well, I don't get that. I don't get carried away.
No, just kidding, just kidding. And so I was taking him back, when I was going to the convention center, and they had those breezeways to walk across from one building to the other building, and the big, where
Yeah.
the road dipped down. I don't know if Andre knew it or not, but he's sitting up over here this high, and I'm sitting, just driving the Bronco, the big Bronco, and I know that the road dips and goes underneath that tower or that breezeway. And so as we're driving along, Andre keeps looking at me, and he's got some concern on his face. And I'm just driving along, and I'm going, "Oh, what the heck? I don't know what this guy's going through his brain. I don't know him this well, or that well, or however you want to say it." But also, I'm driving along, and I'm going pretty good, and all of a sudden, I hear this, "Oh, boss!" This big old hand comes across my chest, wham! Smacks me over here, and I'm going, and I come back up. He thought I was going to take his head off. He thought I was going to crash into that breezeway.
Oh, because he didn't realize the
He
dip.
didn't see the road, I mean, I could. And then we got down to Hollywood, and we had the battle royal, and him and one man gang were in the battle royal, and they got me into the corner, and they were doing that press where Andre was pressing him, but they didn't know I was in the turnbuckle, and I literally thought I was going to die.
Oh,
And I was screaming. I mean, I was screaming. Let me out, let me out, let me out. So I had to squeeze through and go underneath the ropes in the battle royal, so I was still in
yeah.
because I went underneath. And we got back to the hotel, and I said, "Man, didn't you hear me screaming?" "Oh, that was you, boss." Oh, jeez. I had 900 pounds of human flesh squishing me into the turnbuckle.
Nice. I mean, I would not nice, but at least it was a legend.
Yeah, it was fun.
One of the most iconic people in the history of the business.
Yeah, and a nice guy. And
Yeah.
I remember then because Dusty was so strict on everybody about playing cards and drinking in the dressing room, and Andre got a gallon of wine and playing cards.
Yeah.
That's
You're not
part
gonna
of his
really tell him
contract.
what to do. Yeah, yeah. What do they call those? I don't know what they call that when you get that special treatment. But I want to thank you for being here, Denny. It really means a lot that you take the time out of a Sunday to come hang out. And as we were talking earlier, on March 15th, right here at the Twisted Wrestling Studios, we got the big show with the Cuban Assassin against our champion, Eddie Two Rivers. And we know about an Indian. The only good Indian is a dead Indian. That's what Cuban says. I didn't say that. Well, you're an Indian too?
Yes.
Well, that's what Cuban said. I didn't say it.
Easy now.
Anyway,
I
want to thank you.
You sure you want to start that with me
Yeah,
now?
well, you want to have a match with me.
Yeah, but I'll remember that.
Yeah, well, you should. We
Yeah.
should.
So,
But I would have a match with you anytime you're ready to do it.
well, like I said, I got one more thing to work on and take care of, and if I get that issue resolved, I got to the weight I told you I was going to get to, and I'm there. 190, 195. And I never was 230 pounds. I don't know why they said I was junior heavyweight champion at 230 because I'd never been 230. Well, I should say
I was
never because
230 about 30 years ago.
I was 245.
You were
I
245?
got up to
Holy
245,
crap.
and then I started trickling down to 225, and then I went through.
That must have been back in the times when I went, holy crap, Denny got fat. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
I did. I did. I was pretty round, but I feel a lot better. I'm, and I do a lot more things, and I only got one issue, and I gotta get that, resolved, and we'll definitely get in there.
All right,
Yeah.
well, I'll do it, and you'll do it. And
But
the
if you
people,
throw, if
who
you
cares what
hit,
the people think? This is for us.
that's right. We can just do whatever we want,
But I've known you for almost 35 years, and I got nothing but respect for you.
and I
And
appreciate
next time
that.
we have a Legends lunch, get out of the house for a few hours, for God's sake. We might be dead by the time the next lunch comes around.
I don't even know when that is either.
May 3rd, so Saturday.
Is it you gonna do them all on Saturdays now?
At least the next one, I don't know. It's Brian's call, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
Right.
yeah. I got a friend that always wants to go too, and he's a big wrestling fan, and he sends me stuff on Messenger all the time with these goofy guys dropping. We were talking about these things these guys do in the ring that don't know what the heck they're doing. And he sent me this one that I got on here. He drops him on the table, and I guess the table already broke in half, and it come up. The one end was sticking up, and the guy landed on his stomach on top of it instead of hitting flat on the table. I'm going, this guy's got to be crazy. The things that these guys do. Steve Kern's funny about it too because he says, I can't believe what some of these guys do.
Oh, yeah,
And they're still
anything for
walking.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, you get views on YouTube or whatever. The dumber things you do, the more attention you get. Well, anyways, these things usually go an hour, and we were going a little bit over an hour, which not that we have a problem with that, but I just want to thank you again, and we're going to have that match.
All right.
Or
I'm
not.
going to hold you to it.
Well, all right. I appreciate you coming on. The next time on the Cooker's Corner, we got a real special guest. We'll talk about that later.
I thought I was that special guest.